What's up, guys? Eric here. I want to bring you just a really quick update on the community portfolio. So this portfolio is sitting at about $240,000 right now, 238,900 and change. We're trying to grow this to $1 million as fast as possible. So we're adding $5,000 a month into this portfolio. Now we're sitting on about 8% cash right now, $18,751. It's 7.86% cash. I'm going to show you the whole portfolio and kind of go through it. Some of these meme stocks, you gotta be careful. We've got Meme Stock Mania 3.0, and we even own some of these like Rocket Lab. We've been trimming back to house shares and so on. But I just want to bring you up to speed. NVDA, of course, 9% of the account. This was a new portfolio in 2022. What we're trying to do here, pretending like I'm a 25-year-old, how would I invest for the accumulation phase to get to millionaire status? So we're sitting at 240,000. We're trying to grow this to $1 million, adding $5,000 every month. NVIDIA up about 1,100% or so. We've got 127 shares. Cost basis 1437. You can see we're doing pretty well on that one. So this is by weight, percentage of the account. Highest NVIDIA 9%, cash 7.86%, $18,751. Astera Labs, we just trimmed back a little bit. It popped up to 120. It's still overweight at 6.78%. And I do think that if this, happens to get back up in that, the 52-week high was 147. So if you see something like 147, we'll probably trim some more shares back, get it maybe to 100 shares or something like that. But it is the number 2 position if you don't include cash. Then SMH, which I like because we were trying to grow our ETF positions this year. That was a focus. This was a new position we started buying March and April. So it's nice being up 25%, having about 4.82% of the portfolio. MongoDB, you can see everything's green here. This one is only up about 11%. It's 4.29%. It's $205 cost basis or so. I still believe this is, 225 or less DCA. I think that with time, this will be $350 in a couple of years, and we can trim it back at that point. But I look at this as an opportunity where a lot of these stocks are getting pretty expensive. This one's still, relatively inexpensive in my opinion. It was a $370 stock not that long ago, and I do think the company will be just fine. Snowflake, this is 4%. It's about $10,000. And you can see our cost basis is 132, so we're up 61%. Taiwan Semiconductor, AMD, Coherent. These are new positions. A lot of these, like Coherent, new position this year. Most of the buys were in April, up 65%. Datadog, we've had this for a while. Cost basis 83. SPRX, this was actually negative in April. Now it's up 53%. So this allows us to capture some of those quantum names and some of those meme-like names that I don't really like as much, that Ivana has, conviction on, and I don't. It allows me to have some exposure to that. And this is how I would invest if I were a 25-year-old. Trade Desk, now up 45%. This is one, if you have conviction, you're buying it. You're happy now, but you're probably scared at one point, especially if you didn't do your homework. Rocket Lab, these are house shares. We have 100 house shares, up, 1,200%. This thing's been a huge winner for Fried Up Wealth. Roblox is up 290%. We've trimmed this back as well. I think this is mostly house shares. Marvell Technologies, 1.92%, up 50%. Cost basis on that is 48.51. Micron, Amazon, new position here. We just started in April, up 24%. That's going to be reporting next week. Uber, Google, Melly. No woulda, coulda, shoulda, but we should have probably added more Mercado Libre in April. You can see we are up 33%. We have 1.5 shares. I wish I had, 4%, 5% of the portfolio of this. Tesla reports tonight. We are up 131%, $144 cost basis. That was well played by us in 2024. That 175 or less DCA with a preference below 150. Here we are at 144. A lot of these names, guys, we've trimmed. So a lot of these are house shares or, 50, close to house shares kind of a thing. So keep that in mind. Even Skywater up 62%, nice little small cap. Navitas up 167. We've trimmed some of these. SOFI we've trimmed back, still up 350%, 1.34%. I mean, look at all this green, guys. I will show you there are a few reds. We'll talk about them here in a second. C Limited up 321%. Zscaler, Confluent even up 20% in this account. It's red in the main, but it's up 20% in this account. We have a lot of great cost basis stocks in this portfolio. Now, all of the stocks that you're looking at, every one of them we've covered on this YouTube channel for free, saying, hey, here's the research. Here are the stocks that we like. Here are the prices we're buying. Here's a chart. I'm not a financial advisor and I can't tell you what to buy, but I'm bringing you this type of information to help you with your decisions. If that kind of content is important to you, make sure you subscribe to the channel and click that bell for notifications. And if you really want to take your game to the next level, join us in our private community where I have 3 portfolios and I share every buy and sell in real time. VGT, another new position, ETF. The first red that you're going to see here, Unity down 15%. SCHG, also a new one in April, up 17.83. Just some more. Again, we're trying to grow that exposure into ETFs. We're doing a good job trying to increase that this year in 2025. We are down on Indy, and you can see we're down slightly on Clearwater. This is brand new. Earnings are going to be here in a few days. I think could see under $20 in the stock. I would add more there. Don't buy this stock just because I buy it. I'm seeing people buying it. I'm like, do you really understand what you're buying? Plab, this has been a dog, probably selling out of that. WCLD has been a laggard. It is up 19%, but one that maybe we consider cutting out. Shopify, this is a new position. Didn't fill it all the way, up 65%. April buys. Excellus down 9%. Meta, new position. Didn't fill that either. Only 0.6%, but up 43%. A lot of these are April buys. Klaviyo up 39%. Small position. VU. This is that original VU position from, I think, a couple years ago. And I need to start periodically dollar cost averaging. I have a hard time with it. Apple, small position, up 40%. Bank of America somehow up 75%. This is Bitcoin ETF up 91. AppLovin, this is a new position. April up 70%. Rivian, these are smaller spec plays. Should have more shares of Texas Roadhouse, but up 93%. Good job to Matt Payne on that one. John Deere, Tractor Supply. I like some of these companies. Probably should have larger positions than I do. And the smallest one's Marqeta, 0.16%. So a lot of these micro positions here, we probably clean those up here this year. So looking at the dogs of the portfolio, here they are. So you've got, Clearwater doesn't really count. It's new, but these are the ones that are red. Doing pretty damn good, right? So down 18% on Plab, probably sell it. Indy, I think we've sold some of these shares, so this isn't completely accurate because we did sell some of these shares out, but I think that, it's one of those in this portfolio. It's okay to hold something like this 10x, 10x or zero spec stock. You're not going to be right every time. It's been a tough one for every Indy we've had. We've had, like Rocket Labs and those kind of names that have absolutely crushed it. Unity, it's down 15%. Excellus down 9%. I think Excellus will do okay with time. I wouldn't mind selling out a Path. Don't really have conviction in them. It's small, 0.3%. I mean, we're talking about total gain loss here, guys, $57. I'm not losing sleep over any of these. The biggest one is $438 on Photronics. As far as winners, I mean, you got the Rocket Lab here, 1,176% NVIDIA. I mean, remember, this is a new portfolio in 2022. So several baggers in here, doing pretty well on a lot of these names, considering that we just started this portfolio. And, Palantir is one that I owned in the main, and the community voted not to buy Palantir, unfortunately, in 2022, which would have been a big winner for this portfolio. But of course, did buy the main. A lot of our members did buy Palantir, but it got voted out. I can't remember what the stock was, but it wasn't a name that's performed nearly as well as Palantir. So it's interesting how, in 2022, it was a bear market. It was, Palantir was kind of a meme stock in 2021. It got to $56. Lost 50% of its value. And I think a lot of people just say, let's stay away from those kind of names. And it's interesting how that plays. But overall, guys, absolutely crushing this portfolio. Doing very well. Wanted to just show you everything that's in the portfolio. I'm looking very hard at stocks to buy. I'm hoping for some sell-offs here in earnings season so we can add some names. If there's a sell-off on some of our favorite names, we got to be ready to buy. Now, you saw some of these cost basis, even like CrowdStrike's up 300%. I'm not buying CrowdStrike. I'm not buying SOFI. But there are some names where if they sold off hard enough, Mercado Libre, maybe if it sells off even 10% sell off on Mercado Libre, I'd probably entertain adding shares at this point because we have a small position. But like if I look at CrowdStrike, we already have a 2% position, and we could certainly go higher, but I'm not paying these kind of prices to increase it, right? So you have to really, it's a tough game. When you think of these bull markets, because it's easy to say I'm a long-term investor, I'm going to pay any price. Personally, that's not how I buy. I like to, you know how I like to buy. We like to use the fired up wealth, technical analysis, lot allocation strategy. Now, I tell people all the time, if you're a young investor and you're accumulating and you don't know what to buy, buy some ETFs every month, every paycheck. So we're putting $5,000 in a month. We probably need to start buying some of these ETFs and just slowly, periodically dollar cost averaging. But I really am looking for those next smaller caps. Clearwater is one where it could be, but Photronics was one where, hey, it looks like it was cheap. We bought a little bit of that, and it's, a year and a half and it's done nothing. It's been a laggard, right? So sometimes you try to get cute, try to find those value plays, and you end up being value traps. You have to be careful of that too. At the end of the day, if you're just starting out and you don't have these kind of cost bases and you're building a new portfolio, the biggest thing is creating that blueprint, right? Creating what you want to own in those secular trends. And then so CrowdStrike, you say, well, Eric, the community portfolio has an average cost basis of 109. So I'm going to wait till it's 109. Well, no, you're not going to get 109. This is gone. It's probably not going to happen, right? So then the question is what would you pay for a CrowdStrike? And this is where we would go into, something like TradingView and say, all right, CrowdStrike. Well, I'm not going to get $100, and it was $200 back here. I mean, we have some good cost basis on a lot of these stocks because we started the portfolio in 2022. If you're starting 2025, it's different. Would I pay $517 for CrowdStrike? No. Recently here in April, it was $298. Would I have been buying at $300? If I didn't own it, yeah, I probably would have been buying. Now, there's no way I could have timed that perfectly, but I might have looked at a chart and said, anything under 350, I'm buying this circle. This is where I would have bought. Now it's pulled back, 460. I probably still wait for something like, 400 maybe. That's the 200-day moving average down here, 398. 100-day simple moving average, 423. So, or you periodically dollar cost average. You buy it every paycheck. But it's not a cheap stock at this point. You have to understand that, understand the risk. If there's an earnings miss, a SaaS name like this, and this is just one example, but this could drop 20, 30% on some kind of earnings miss. That's kind of and I will say CrowdStrike is considered higher quality and it doesn't usually behave that way. But remember, just a year ago, this stock sold off to about $200 a share because of that outage. Now it went from $200 a share here in August 2024, $200.81. So basically a year ago, $200 to $517. That's a hell of a run up. So you take advantage of these opportunities here. It's very hard. We talk about buying air pockets. Even if you use this trend, you've got an air pocket. Are you going to get $291 a share? Probably not, but you saw what happened in April. You got literally in that price range, not 291, but 298. So patience is important. Your blueprint's important and your conviction. Because if CrowdStrike is something like, I want 5% of my, and again, this is just one example, one stock to use. It doesn't mean you have to like CrowdStrike or anything, but say you do like it. You really think cybersecurity is going to be a big secular trend. You want 5% of your portfolio to be CrowdStrike, right? You're going to need to start buying it. You're going to save room though. So like you might buy 1% of it now and then buy a little bit every paycheck, but leave 2 or 3% room. So if there is kind of a big sell-off, now you can buy heavily and get to that 4% and so on. And remember, when you start a new portfolio, you're using cost basis as your percentage. In other words, if you have 5% of the stock and it loses half of its value, now it's only 2.5% of your P&L. You can't double down and say, okay, I got to 5%. No, you already put 5% in cash as your cost basis, even though it's only 2.5% of your portfolio now because it's down 50%. That changes as the portfolio grows and matures because, of course, it looks like the screen I just showed you with lots and lots of green. But we're doing well, guys. Just a quick update on the community portfolio. I'm going to put a lot of effort and energy into this the back half of 2025 and beyond, because that main portfolio is going through that metamorphosis into that end game, into those dividend stocks. So this is going to be a very important portfolio. We're trying to grow this thing to $1 million as fast as possible. And of course, if you want to follow this portfolio, every buy and sell in real time, join the private community. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you.